Well, hello, everyone. My name is Eric Russell. I'm with Catapult Systems here. Appreciate everybody taking the time to join the session today. I have with me Heather Masters. Heather is one of our managing consultants at Catapult and is also one of our resident experts in advanced analytics, how to apply those analytics to different scenarios to help measure how employees are using the various solutions in Office 365. So I asked her to co-present here with me today. Um, we've only got about 40 minutes to go through the material today, so let's go ahead and jump right in and get started. Um, in terms of an agenda and what we'll be walking through today, I'm going to start with just an overview of employee engagement, talk a little bit about the why it's important. I'll share with you some statistics we have from a recent Forrester report and share some insight around just employee engagement. Why do people think about it? Why do people spend time on it? And why it's important to a lot of organizations. And then from there, I'm going to turn it over to Heather. Heather's going to talk a little bit about what a program can look like within your organization, some key measures and analytics that she has found useful when targeting different types of behaviors. And then, there's a lot of change management scenarios out there. So we're going to take some of our favorites and share those with you as well. And then finally, she's going to do a little bit of a live demo. We have some different ways that we like to measure employee engagement. It may not be the only way, and others might do it differently, but we wanted to share that with you as well and give you some insight into how we go about that reporting and what some of the important metrics are for us. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. This first slide, why is employee engagement important? There really are two reasons. And these really are the things, the return on investment that people are looking for. So if we're going to spend time on employee engagement, what is it? And then what type of return are we expecting there? What type of behavior are we expecting to change? And so from a what is it perspective, it is really around building a culture that employees feel like they want to be an ambassador for your organization. That is not a definition you're going to find on Google. That's Eric Russell's definition right here. Your employees are your best ambassadors. And if they like where they work and they feel good about their job, then they're going to talk about your company to others, and that's going to support your recruiting, right? So engaged employees, they're happy. Happy employees do not leave, right? Changing jobs is oftentimes one of those events in life that's stressful, right? We don't like that, right? So happy employees don't tend to change jobs, and that decreases your turnover, right? There are real costs associated with hiring employees and having them become productive. And so this is something that especially HR directors, people in recruiting really focus on, is having a low turnover rate. So lower turnover, right? Happier your employees, the lower your costs, keep the people that you bring into the organization. But equally important is increasing productivity. Why is that important? Because when people feel like they're doing a good job, they tend to be happy. And again, happy employees do not leave, right? So being productive at your job, having the right tools, being able to access them from anywhere, anytime, being able to just get your job done, right? There's a sense of worth there. I am no exception to that. I'm sure everybody on the phone here today is no exception as well. You like to go home, talk about your job in a positive way, right? You like to close the book, go home, have that meal, enjoy the weekend, and have a good sense of worth. So that's another reason for employee engagement. So engage employees, lower turnover, more productive. That's the goal. I mentioned the Forrester report at the very beginning. This is a study that was commissioned by Microsoft in 2018 about the total economic impact of Microsoft 365 in organizations. It's about a 54-page report. It's got a lot of details in it, but there's a couple statistics that kind of jumped off the page. The first, very few companies do employee engagement, right? So across the globe, you can see here on the red number, 15% of employees are engaged worldwide, right? So what about the companies who do engage their employees? Well, that's the 70% number that's in the middle of the screen. So high-performing companies when their employees are surveyed, 70% of them respond that they feel engaged, would be an ambassador for their company, speak positively about their company, right? So huge opportunity for high-performing companies, right? A lot of employees feel engaged, but very few companies worldwide are actively doing that. In terms of who really cares about employee engagement, this isn't set in stone, but in general, human resources cares about employee engagement because of turnover, right? They're responsible for bringing the best people to the organization. They want to keep them. Turnover is a real cost. And then corporate communications, oftentimes in charge of making sure that the company's message and culture gets out to all of the employees, right? So whether you are in the corporate office or whether you are in the field, whether you are at a office location, etc., being able to get the message out, whether it's through email, an intranet, Yammer, Teams, chat, some other mechanism, being able to get the company message out to as many employees as possible and have those employees read that message, that's where the measurement comes in. And then finally, I'm not going to read through all of these bullet points here. I'm going to summarize it pretty succinctly. With those first 6 bullet points, if you look at all the bullet points but the very last one, the first 6, it's about making it easy, right? It's really the theme there. Make it easy to share documents, collaborate with others, find information, do your job, right? And so a digital workplace can make that really, really easy. What Heather's going to talk about are some measures that you can look at to see how employees are using that digital workplace and how they're engaging with your intranet, with Office 365, and even some metrics that can help you spot trends that you can take corrective action on. That last one is about security, equally important. We don't want to put our employees in a bad position where they think they're doing something that's okay and they're sharing a document, but maybe that document wasn't for external consumption, right? So we want to make sure that that digital workplace is secure so that your employees are protected from simple mistakes around sharing content outside of the organization. And Heather, that's it. I was going to advance the slides for you and turn it over to you. So Heather, all yours.
Fantastic. Thanks, Eric, for laying out the why. I think that's really good foundation to have as we look at how we build that program and how we look at the metrics and understand what we're looking at. So let's go next. First, I wanted to talk a little bit about the productivity score. The score measures the productivity for your organization across the stack. So you're getting information about the communication and collaboration. So SharePoint, Teams, all your Office 365 group sites. And this is our Catapult score. I think it's pretty good there. There are 5 different ways that score is calculated, and you can go into Office 365, into your admin center, and under reports, you can go to productivity score. And if you're not a global admin, you may not see that there, but you can request to become a report reader, and it's something that is really valuable to look at the organization, and you'll be able to see those reports. So there are the 5 different metrics, and we've got communication and collaboration there, as well as some technical metrics that are mobility, endpoint analytics, and network connectivity. So you have a total possible of 500 points, and we've got 412 in there. So highly recommend you go and check your productivity score. Eric, thank you. You can, in SharePoint Online, we have a program for web trends. And what we do is we measure each click to determine how users are using the site. And we find that web trends is a good solution for our clients because we like to not just see the Microsoft data from the graph, but we like to measure the user behavior. So we have some key metrics, a dashboard that gives us a bunch of key metrics that we'll look at. Monthly active documents by site, monthly active users by site, monthly popular pages, monthly on-site search phrases, that's everyone's favorite report, monthly time, hourly, and daily server activity. And this helps us determine when's a good time to post messages or when we should schedule outages. And then we've got monthly popular browser.
And Heather, I want to jump in here because the most popular one you mentioned is the on-site search phrases, successful and unsuccessful.
Right.
The most popular one is the unsuccessful searches.
Sure.
If you want to know what your employees are looking for and not finding, that's the report that is a gold nugget of information. And just to share a little story here, we with one of our clients, we went live with their intranet, and it was about 6 months later that we began to see a new search term creep up to the top of unsuccessful. It turned out that they were looking for the name of a software package that had been recently decommissioned, but nobody really knew about it. The team that implemented the intranet really didn't know about it either. And that immediately caused us to ask the question, well, what is this? And as soon as we were able to figure out what it was, we realized that that content had not been migrated into the new intranet, into the new communication platform. So very simple corrective action there. But that's an example of how reporting unsuccessful searches, it was that interesting moment in time where we had never seen that term before, but then over the course of the next few weeks, we began to see it creep up and up. And the reason for that was because it was shut off about 2 weeks ago. And then, of course, people started looking for that information through the term that they knew and understood. So unsuccessful search phrases, a golden nugget of information there.
Absolutely.
All right, let me advance for you, Heather.
Please. So if we have the information about what users are doing, we can focus on where you are today and determine where you want to go and where you need to go and what success means to you. So once we have a baseline for you, we're able to take that baseline and see where we'd like to improve and make your intranet better. So this is the basic plan for the program that we use to key in on your adoption. So initially, we will help you identify your stakeholders, and then we'll identify and prioritize your business scenarios, and we'll see that in the next slide. Then we'll help you create your success plan and execute on that success plan. So that measure, share success, and iterate is something that we do for the whole adoption cycle, and like to drive that ongoing adoption, making sure that we aren't letting anything go by the wayside. We're checking everything over and over again and making sure that you're successful.
And Heather, one of the things that we oftentimes get questions around is the champions program. Well, where do I start, right? Who are my champions? And if you are new to Office 365, or if you've been using Office 365 for a few years, everyone has a named license. And so you can look and see who your top users are within the system, the ones who are using the solutions the most. And those could be the first people you reach out to begin building a champions program.
Absolutely. And we've got some information about what a champion is and how you can identify those folks in your organization. But after we do that, we look at your use cases. And this is just a user story, but when we identify and prioritize your business scenarios, we get that group of key stakeholders together, and we find what the best user stories are to deliver on the technology. So as someone in sales management here, I want to have a single version of the proposal everyone can access and edit rather than emailing different versions around the team. Using a SharePoint site to centrally store and share a single version of a sales proposal that my team can edit together using co-authoring in Word and PowerPoint. And I'll know this is successful when my sales team can create proposals more easily and therefore have more time to close deals. So this is an example of a user story. And one of my favorite things to do after we've been implemented for a while is capturing success stories. So when you create success stories, your key stakeholders back together and you talk about the experience that they've had and how life is easier for them. And you can get really specific on that by using the time that the story happened and making sure that the story features names and the audience and what events transpired and any visuals you can add. And this is great to share not just among the users of the platform, but between the champions, because you're always teaching people how they can make things easier and do things better.
Heather, this is one of those things that I've really come to appreciate, over time, is the story aspect to employee engagement. And so it's absolutely important to understand your user stories, to measure them, use analytics in order to track that so you can make informed decisions. But telling the stories and socializing those stories internally, that has a lot of impact, right? Because it takes the concepts around a new intranet and makes it real on how people are using them. And so anytime you have a story where somebody has found something useful, made their job easier, champion that story, right? Capture that story. Who was it? The names, just like Heather said, and use that as a way to socialize the success of the new solution, the new platform that you're offering your employees. This is a great way. Everyone loves a good story. I guess, today we don't have water coolers anymore. We have virtual water coolers. But those stories are equally important, especially in the time for remote workers, where there is very intentional time taken out of people's day just to connect with people one-on-one. This is the perfect time for those stories. So definitely take advantage of learning about how your employees are using the solution, just documenting those stories, taking some notes, and then socializing them through all the channels you have, whether it's Yammer, news article, face-to-face meetings, Teams meetings like we're doing right now. Whatever the channel is, take the time to socialize those stories. People like to hear about how other people are using the tools, and it helps us all learn how to make these tools better for our productivity.
And here's an example of a success story. You can see here that these are users that are in different areas of the country. So within their organization, one person identifies a problem, and then other people are confirming, oh, they have this problem as well. An executive sees the issue and acknowledges it and finds a way to resolve it. And that's just one example of how you can respond and give great success stories to your users. Point out and have them understand how this can make their lives easier. Then you can also assess your user satisfaction through surveys. We have Microsoft Forms now, and that's a really great way to gather data and get simple surveys out quickly. You can survey your key stakeholders and your champions in your early adopters program, and then you can survey all of your users after full release. But it's great to use forms to do that, and we recommend on a regular basis, maybe 3 months, 6 months out, you start sending surveys out to get that user feedback. And then the whole adoption cycle, right? Nothing, we don't stop that adoption journey at go live day. We keep on looking at your metrics, talking to your users, and making sure that we're driving adoption on a continuous cycle. So these use insights from your evaluation process to kick off more trainings. And if you're rolling out sites or teams in a way that you have groups of different users or departments, maybe on a rolling basis, that's a great idea to take that evaluation process with the first group and use it on the second group. You can organize additional business scenario and solutions, and I think that you'll find them as you're doing those user stories and find more use cases that will apply to your whole organization. Then you can host additional engagement events. Town halls, lunch and learns are always good to drive engagement in the platform. And then encourage users an idea to share their stories and develop ideas about improving how everyone works and sharing those ideas with others.
Heather, this is a great example of how, especially with M365, everyone's on a journey, right? And even with something as simple as Teams, and we're using Teams right now to facilitate this, people's adoption of Teams, it oftentimes takes time, and it's not a one-size-fits-all journey, right? So some people may choose to begin their adoption of Teams just with chat and file storage, right? And that might be a market improvement upon where they were at. Allow people to access information quicker, faster, and better. You might iterate on that and then add meetings like we're doing right now to that repertoire. Same technology, but we're just adopting it in a different way, and we're improving our maturity of the adoption of that tool. You can even go to Teams Voice, and you can even create templates. So if you want to create very specific templates for different types of collaboration, say you have marketing events that you're putting on, and for each marketing event, you want to create a template so that when you create the new marketing event teams, it automatically prefixes the team with a standard prefix, can even pre-create the channels, add administrators, even automatically add users. The ability to template teams is another level of adoption. And so when you look at all of the different capabilities of M365, just the adoption of them can evolve over time, right? And you can learn to use the tools to meet your different business scenarios.
So a couple of the tools we use, and we are about to demo these next two slides, but just wanted to talk a little bit about how you enable the M365 Analytics. If you are not seeing this analytics, this Power BI in your tenant, and you're still looking at the preview that Microsoft put out, this is a great thing to implement. And you have to go into Power BI. We have information in the deck that will let you go ahead and implement this. It's really simple because it's on Microsoft's template, and then it'll show up in Power BI in your tenant. And this will help you measure not just what your active users are doing and how your licensing is going, but also has great collaboration reports, so you know what's going on with when you roll out SharePoint and Teams. Is your Exchange usage decreasing? So I'll show you that in a live demo here in a moment. And then this is a sample of our Web Trends analytics in Power BI and our key metrics page, and we'll show you that too. I'm going to show you the Catapult data on that. And I will take away the sharing here. All right, so everybody can see that I'm in the Microsoft 365 usage executive summary here on our Catapult data. And this is our top page with our adoption number that matches our productivity score. And we've got usage throughout all of our different licensing. So you see Teams, SharePoint, Exchange, OneDrive, and Groups, Skype, and then Yammer. And we can see on the mobility aspect who's using the apps and accessing everything on their mobile devices. You can see storage here. And so let's get into product usage a bit. And we can go to SharePoint. And you can see that you can select in SharePoint whether or not this is a group connected SharePoint site, any site, or a team site. And you can see where your active files are increasing. So we've got a file count by different activities, and this is something interesting to understand, that files view and modified and files synced, and then files shared internally and externally. And you can do this both for SharePoint and OneDrive, where you've got that active file count. And then on Teams, some information that we like to see is, what are the different things, the activities that people are doing in Teams? So, are they participating in calls? Are they having channel messages? And you get to see the activity count as well as the active user count. And you've got chat messages and meeting participation. And a lot of this, happens in organizations organically as they let users use Teams. They may not roll out all of the functionality at once, but users find that they can go and host meetings and are able to use some of the Teams functionality they haven't even been trained on yet. This is sometimes a surprise. So good information to have. And then we look at user activity here. You can see you're able to anonymize the users. So these display names and UPNs aren't available. So you're looking really at by department and how that looks for you. And can see all of the different activities. We go here to Teams. You can see by department, we've got a total of activities and all of the channel messages. If we scroll here, chat messages, meeting participation, and call participation. And then we also have a department adoption. So we can select by department we want to know. What a few of these departments are doing. We can select the active users there and see how their adoption is going. So highly recommend you get this going in your tenant. Gives you lots of great information that you can use as a baseline. So when you come back in here month after month, Microsoft refreshes the data automatically, and this is Office graph data. So you'll get that update every month, and you'll be able to identify where you're making gains in productivity. I'm going to switch here, make this bigger. Switch here to our Web Trends reporting. So here we've got our Web Trends key metrics. These are the top metrics that we like to see And you can tell that we've got a few that we can use as a baseline for your intranet, and some other ones that we might use to compare you against other organizations. So average time on site is one of the ones that we can compare across organizations. Anyone that's using Fuser or Valo and has our services, we can look and see average time on site. And this is measured in seconds. And so our benchmark for that would be that 600 is a good number. And so for Catapult, we'd like to increase that a little bit. We've also got another metric here, average views per session. And this is also something that we can compare across all clients. This is actually, this 2.5 in September is actually a really good number. That means that each time a user has a session is also called a visit, but a session means that you browse to an intranet site, you stay in the site, and it's the amount of pages that you're viewing while you're still in the site. So you're navigating from the home page or to another page. And that amount of time times out after 30 minutes of inactivity or after 2 hours. So 2.3 is actually a really good number. And so we're looking for that as far as our baseline. Now, these other metrics, these are metrics that we can't compare client to client, but we can, for each client, say, this is a good number. So if your average users a day is 90 in June, but 73 in September, then we might need to have some campaigning around new information on the intranet. We need to look at why that drop-off has happened. We've also got number of page views. So you can see that pretty consistent. And we have a couple of days left of data to receive for September, but it does look like it's down a little bit in September. It could be that we had a lot of people take vacation and not such a huge deal, but we do like to track it and make sure that we're on track. Same thing with number of sessions. So we had a lot of sessions in June. And you often see these things track with end of quarter, that you've got higher page views and sessions and more visitors doing work on the site. And then this is number of unique users. So just something to note here, this will stay pretty consistent with the users on the site. It's not associated with your Microsoft active users. This is a first-party cookie that WebTrends uses. And we take your average here. You'll see the last 3 months, and we get to create our baseline from that. And our documents. So you always like to know about top documents because you need to identify content that could be in a quick link or maybe needs to be in your navigation or even displayed on a page if it's a nice PDF or a nice PowerPoint that would look good on a page. So identifying those top documents is what this report is all about. And you've got opens here, but you've also got some other key metrics. And we don't see a lot of checking in and checking out anymore, but that's still tracked. Then your other native SharePoint, copying a document, downloading a document, emailing directly from SharePoint, and sharing from SharePoint. So you can see most of our activities are opens and then downloads.
Heather, one question we oftentimes get when we are either building a new intranet or we're asked to look for improvements in a new intranet is a resources area, particularly in the top and global navigation. Sometimes the question is, what are my top resources? Maybe we want to have that type of drop down or mega menu experience and just list the top 10 resources that people access. This is how you determine what the top 10 is
Right.
by looking and seeing what's being accessed the most. And sometimes you'll see patterns as well. One pattern that Catapult has is we have an employee benefit called the Moose Lodge. And that employee benefit, there's a raffle in January, and employees get to pick their dates. Well, in January and February, that's one of the top documents is Moose Lodge. And then the raffle concludes and we're kind of set for the year and it drops off of our top 10. But you might even spot some trends there as well. So being able to identify the top documents and resources people are using and then put that in your global navigation is a best practice a lot of people take advantage of.
Absolutely. We also have our top users report. This is good because it lets you know if you need to have additional people in your key stakeholders and champions, who you might go to for the top users of your site. And we can look site by site and see who the top users are for each of our sites. And then we can make sure that these are the people that other users are reaching out to for help. And we've got key metrics per site and per user, so we can compare these against our overall key metrics. But this is the one I wanted to get to. The search report, everybody's favorite. It's always something that is interesting. Top search here you can see was Catapult capabilities. So we're looking for a sheet there that we would find on the marketing site. But then there's Moose and Moose Lodge that Eric just mentioned. So some of our top searching there. And DPO, our digital partner of record. So probably how we handle that process. But you can see we've got a lot of successful and then some unsuccessful here. And if I change this to unsuccessful, sometimes we see patterns in, we see misspellings or we see something that may have been pasted into search and may not have been meant to search, right? But you've got interesting stuff here. Now, if you see patterns of, this is 3 searches that happen on these unsuccessful searches. If you see patterns of things that are being continuously unsuccessful, then you know that users are not finding what they're looking for. And you either need to make sure that the content is actually there or that the search is happening in the right place. So users could search on a site that may not be the site where the content lives, but you could have some cross-posting of that information, or you can change to an organizational-wide search, just depending on what you need. But it also may be just a user training thing. So always nice to do a session on search because it is so helpful. And we've got a couple of other reports here where you can see top pages by site and page views by page title. So if we go to marketing here on our SharePoint site, you can see where everybody is going and visiting. And on our people and culture site, top traffic there too. This helps us identify where people are going, what pages they like the most. And we have this time and browsers usage. Just wanted to talk here for a second about that popular browser. So you can see that what we're looking at is we don't want to be using Internet Explorer on modern SharePoint sites. We want to try to find ways around that and use modern browsers, because Internet Explorer is going to be 4 times slower than the rest. And so always good to have that information at your fingertips. And then what time of day are people working? If you wanted to post a news article, then I'd say 9 a.m. is the best time to do it.